Hello everybody, I'm doing an tropical update on Tropical Cyclone Inaudible. With this system, it's a very powerful hurricane. It was a lot stronger about a few hours ago when it was just making landfall. Now that it's making landfall, it's starting its weakening trend. I'll wait for the clock to stop. Okay, so we're going to do a forecast on the remainder of this storm. I have the live stream up on my phone so I could see your comments if you are here. I don't know how many people are on. If you're here, say hello in the comments and I'll be able to see it. Whoever is not here currently, when I post this as a video, you'll be able to see it. So let's go over here, tropicaltidbits.com, forecast models, hurricane, GFS, Inaudible. 09S. So let's go to hour 00 rather. And so this shows the wind speed map. A few people on the Facebook page, I think they were trying to ask about the color coding. I don't know, it was in another language and I had to get it translated. And sometimes that's not always accurate, but if that is the question that you had if you're watching right now. Hold on, I got a message. Let me answer this. Someone was asking what my channel was. Okay, so yeah, you could leave a comment, but if you want to know about the color coding, I know if that person was asking, other people might want to know too. So the color coding shows the wind. So the green to red is tropical storm force winds. Blue is less than tropical storm, so tropical depression force winds. Purple is hurricane force winds. The lighter colors in the pinks over here, you can see it over here as well. This shows the wind speed. It shows it in knots, although these systems, although in the United States rather, we are more accustomed to using miles per hour. I do have to, let's see, oh right, the wind speed converter. Wind speed converter. Okay, yeah, that was the one thing I forgot to check. And also Saffir-Simpson scale. Okay, so that way we can have our references. I knew I was forgetting something. But anyways, let's see here. Okay, so what we're gonna do, I'm gonna move this over here so it's a little closer. So this is the one that I use, Lower Dynamics, MSLP, and 10-meter winds. I use this to determine the low end of my estimate on my forecast page, on my Meteorologist without credentials page, the Facebook page, not forecast page. Well, I guess it's a forecast page, but whatever. 74.5 knots. So what I'll do is I'll go in here, and I'm showing you guys this. If you watched before, you've seen me do this in my last video, I think. The reason why I show you guys how to do this is so that way if I'm not live or I didn't post an update because I was busy or whatever, you could go on and you can look at what to expect for the storm yourself. So this says 85.7. So on my low end forecast I would put 85 miles per hour for the low wind speed right now. It's at its lowest a minimum of an 85 mile per hour category 1 hurricane. Now if I go to the high end, okay, we see a different story. On the high end, 109.4. So let's do that. 109.4. Convert. 125.9, so that would be 125 on the forecast. That would put it at a category 3 hurricane. So that would be a major hurricane. On my notes with the forecast, and you'll see this on the bottom of my forecast. I have the disclaimers area. For tropical depression is less than 38 miles per hour, and you can see it right here too. Less than 38 miles per hour. Tropical storm is 39 to 73 miles per hour. Category 1 hurricane 74 to 95 miles per hour. Category 2, 96 to 110. Category 3, 111 to 129. Category 4, 130 to 156. And Category 5, 157 and greater is a Category 5. And I have on here also as far as the damage to expect with these systems, and I'm not a professional, please. I am not a professional meteorologist. If there is anything that I forecast, but the local forecasters are saying otherwise, follow their advice, because I'm not a professional and I should not be viewed as such. But tropical depression will likely cause little or no damage in most well-built areas. Minor damage is possible. Moderate damage is unlikely. Major damage is very unlikely. Catastrophic damage is extremely unlikely to occur with a tropical depression. With a tropical storm, little or no damage is possible. Minor damage is likely. Moderate damage is possible. Major damage is unlikely. Catastrophic damage, very unlikely. Hurricane conditions, that's Category 1 or Category 2. Little or no damage is unlikely. Minor damage is possible. Moderate damage is likely. Major damage is possible. Catastrophic damage is unlikely. Now in a major hurricane, that's Category 3 through 5, little or no damage is very unlikely. Minor damage is unlikely. Moderate damage is possible. Major damage is likely. Catastrophic damage is possible. I'm not a professional. This is just something that I did so people could be aware. If there's a major hurricane coming towards you, you need to be prepared at least for major damage, but you should also be prepared for catastrophic damage as a possibility in some areas. A lot of the catastrophic damage would likely occur in isolated areas. Like, for example, this would be a Category 3 hurricane, I believe we said it was. Yeah, a Category 3 hurricane. So over here is the tropical storm force winds that are around Madagascar. So in these areas, minor damage is likely occurring right now. You know, the trees, power lines over in here. This is also tropical storm force winds, but this is stronger. So where it says, or where I said that moderate damage is possible, that would most likely occur in this red area here. In the orange, maybe, but in this area to the lighter, darker green over here, minor damage is more likely, with moderate damage happening in this area. Now this area with hurricane force winds would be the moderate damage is likely throughout this area. But as you get closer to the major hurricane force winds, not exactly major, but close to, that's where major damage is possible from those winds. Now in the major hurricane force winds, that is where major damage is likely occurring along this area right over here. Major damage is likely occurring. Catastrophic damage would occur more in the Category 5 range when the wind speeds are reaching about, as it says here, over 157 miles per hour. Areas that are impacted by those wind speeds, which there might have been today as the storm got closer. Let's take a look back. Yeah, over here, 151.0. This is going back in time a few hours. So that would be 173. That's over Category 5. So during that time, the Category 5 force winds were over here, which is out to ocean, which probably wouldn't cause catastrophic damage. But if these Category 5 force winds that you see over here were on land, that would be where likely catastrophic damage would be taking place. And that was only a few hours ago. That was, what, 6 hours ago? Now the storm is coming in. So already 6 hours of major hurricane force winds coming in the coast, and hurricane force winds coming in for several hours now, and tropical storm force winds coming in for at least about a day now along the coast. And now as the storm moves in, we'll see a weakening trend, as tropical cyclones do. They go in, they weaken. But let's also talk about this storm surge risk. The areas most likely right now getting storm surge are from around here all the way here. This whole area will be getting storm surge, maybe even as much as to here. With this wide range, there might be some minor storm surge and flooding in this area. Although that's going to be a problem too, as this thing moves further south. If they're not getting storm surge now, they will be shortly. In this area, the area getting the worst storm surge is probably right around here into here, and then also over here. So this region, as you can imagine, that's where the eye of the storm is probably getting the worst storm surge. This area might be getting more storm surge than this area. Even though this has Category 3 force winds, the wind is blowing this way, so the water is being pushed this way. There is storm surge coming in over here as well, for sure, not a doubt. But there's probably going to be a little bit more over here because that is the way the wind is flowing and pushing the water this way. It moves along this way and even along this way. Water being pushed into here as well. And as the storm moves this way, more water will be pushed into these areas as well. I mentioned this, I think, 2 days ago on the update. So let's move on now to 24 hours from now. Let's look at the low end forecast. No, that's the high end, low end. MSLP. Okay, so 36.9 knots. That puts it at 42.5 miles per hour. So that would put it at a tropical storm, a mid-range tropical storm. Let me go back to the video stream on my phone, see if anyone commented. No, I don't even think anyone's watching. But you might be watching this as a video after it's updated. I know some people are working and whatnot, and most people don't know about this, but it'll be on my channel later for people to view. So 42.5 on my forecast on the Facebook page. I would put that I would round it down to 40 miles per hour. So that would still put it as a tropical storm, a low-end tropical storm. Now if we go to the high-end forecast, MSLP and 850 millibar wind, that would be 53.7 knots. So let's put that in, 53.7. Convert 61.8. I would round that up because this is the high-end forecast, so I would round it up to 65. I wouldn't round it down to 60. On the low end, if it was 64, I would lower it down to 60. But because we're forecasting for the highest possible, giving a little room for error in this forecast, we're going to bring it up to 65. So that would still be a strong tropical storm. So likely in 24 hours, what we're going to be looking at is a moderate tropical storm. It's probably going to be somewhere in between. Sometimes it could take all the way on the far end. Other times it could take all the way on the short end. But more often than not, it'll probably be somewhere in between. So we're looking at a mid-range tropical storm, force winds. And remember, it's going to be coming across this area as it does so. So as we said, we were over here, come over here. This area is going to be getting the most storm surge around here, especially as the water is being pushed here. 12 hours from now, most of the hurricane force winds are going to be starting to dissipate. Still tropical storm force winds over this whole area. And then going back to 24 hours, you see as the storm goes on land, it weakens. That's normal. This is a mountainous region as well, so that helps in weakening the system for sure. 989 millibars. That still is, pretty low millibars for a tropical storm. That seems about right for a high-end tropical storm. Going from a Category 4 or 5 hurricane over here and coming in as and now becoming a tropical storm, the pressure's starting to rise. It was definitely much lower before, and even now 962 and before 923. So that's good. The pressure is forecasted to rise, which is also good for a storm weakening. The lower the pressure, the stronger the storm. So pressure is going up. It's going over mountainous region on land. These are factors that are going to help weaken the storm. In about 24 hours, it'll be a tropical storm. Still going to see a lot of heavy rain, though. This is a mountainous region. Storm surge around these areas is still possible over here as well. Water being drawn in. So there might be higher water elevation, and over here as well. Along this side of Madagascar and this side of Madagascar. Over here, of course, we're still going to have tropical storm force winds. We're going to have a lot of heavy rain, I'm sure, as is common with tropical cyclones. And because we have mountains and hills all over this area here in Madagascar, there's certainly risk for mudslides and things like that. So definitely a dangerous situation in 24 hours, even though it is downgraded from a hurricane by that time. Now let's look at 48 hours from now. Let's go to 10 meter wind. 38.3. Alright, so let's see. 38.3. 45, 44.1. or in this case, because I'm rounding it to the lower half of the portion, leaving room for error, 40 miles per hour would be my forecast, which would be, again, a low-end tropical storm. On the low-end forecast, it doesn't show really any strong winds over here, although this model tends to do that, but that's usually not the case. Even though it's only forecasting a weaker storm and the winds to be out here, those winds are probably going to be extending well into this region over here based on this forecast that we're looking at here. So that would be minor damage is likely over here in this area based on the low-end forecast. With the high-end forecast, 54.4. Let's do that. 54.4. That's 62, so I'm going to round that to 65. So that would put it still at a tropical storm. So this would be a low to moderate end tropical storm, probably right in between there. Over here, minor damage is likely in this region. Maybe right along the coast over here. Moderate damage is possible, but minor damage definitely in the green areas. Minor damage is what is likely. You can see the rotation is far more disorganized as it's been going over land. A lot of the heaviest winds are staying off the coast, as showed with the low end. But as I said, as we'll see with the high end, some of those winds are coming ashore in this region here. So still something to look out for even 48 hours from now. Tropical storm conditions may still continue scattered around this side of the storm, scattered around this side, and more concentrated along the southwest coast over here of Madagascar. No, southeast coast. This is the southeast coast, not southwest. Okay, so southeast coast of Madagascar, maybe reaching the southwest, depending how far that goes and how the model changes. But for now, minor damage is likely in the southern half of Madagascar as the storm goes down. So 72 hours from now. Okay, that looks scary, but we're going to explain this. Okay, so 53.6. Now at this point, as we could see, it is not a tropical cyclone anymore. It doesn't have a real center of rotation. It's more of an extratropical low. Is that the term? I don't even know the proper term. See, I'm not a real meteorologist. That's why you should trust your regular meteorologist. But this is probably a subtropical cyclone. I think that's what it's called, where it has some characteristics of a tropical cyclone, but it has characteristics of a non-tropical cyclone as it was just ripped apart, is trying to reorganize itself. It's a little further south, away from the warmer waters that it was before. I mean, these waters are still warm, but not as warm as a little further north. In the southern hemisphere, the further north you go, the warmer it gets. And the northern hemisphere, the further south you go, the warmer it gets. In the southern hemisphere, the further north you go, the warmer it gets. It's opposite. Going towards the equator, that's what makes it warmer. So this is 53.6. Let's put that into here. 53.6. 61.7. That would put it at a tropical storm. Again, in this model, we don't see any tropical storm force winds, so probably no more damage happening along the coast from the winds of the storm. As far as rain and stuff like that, let's see, will rain still be making its way? Yeah, there'll still be some rain left over. There's also to note too with this storm, with tropical cyclones when they make landfall, sometimes you have the risk of tornadoes as well. So that's another thing to watch out for. So on the high end forecast, 75.6. 75.6. That would be an 87 mile per hour or category 1 hurricane equivalent. I'm saying equivalent because again at this point it's not going to be a hurricane anymore. It's going to be a post-tropical cyclone, but it will still have hurricane force winds along with it over a wide area. However, the good side, as scary as that might seem, and as scary as this blob of purple over here might look, it's still far away from Madagascar. There might be some more onshore flow of increasing water or storm surge. Probably, rough seas, I would say, as the wind is pushing in this direction. I wouldn't go to the beach just yet if you are in this southern part. Probably not a good idea. You're still going to have rip currents as a storm. Even in the northern part of Madagascar, I would wait at least a number of days before going to the beach after a hurricane. if your area wasn't severely damaged, that is, and you have the luxury of going to the beach. But I would refrain from doing so until the storm is way, way out, only because of the rip current risk that is heightened during these storms. Now, if we look at 96 hours, again, it's, the storm is pretty much falling apart. I'm not even going to bother with the wind speeds. It's not impacting land anymore. 120 hours, 144 hours. So at this point, yeah. So this system is right now a Category 3 hurricane, most likely. It's going to move through within about, 72 hours? So within 72 hours, within 3 days, the storm should be out. We'll still be seeing impacts for the next 2 days from the system, and then after that will be the aftermath of the storm. But the areas being mostly impacted is northern Madagascar, northeastern Madagascar. Going along here, we're going to have hurricane conditions up to around 18S latitude. Is that longitude? No, I think that's latitude. I'm thinking of a ladder. I think that's latitude. If I'm wrong, please correct me. I'd like to know. Again, I'm not a professional, otherwise I'd know off the top of my head. But the Category 3 force winds are currently bearing down on Madagascar in the northeastern part, and the storm's going to move through, bringing with it, let's look at the rain of this system. Actually, let's go over here. Hurricane, no, not that one. Forecast models, regions, Indian Ocean. Let's see, simulated IR imagery. So there's our hurricane. Let's bring this back in time a bit. This is 3 days ago. This was Inawo 3 days ago. So we see as it developed, this is what happened. Developed into powerful hurricanes coming on land, and now, as expected, it's going to rapidly weaken and then be pushed out this way, where it will no longer be a threat to land. Now, if we go to the rain, we can see a lot of heavy rain going on with the storm. Let me zoom in on that, on the rain. I think I might have saw something of concern, but let's double check. So here we are now with the heavy rain coming in and major hurricane force winds. So we could see as the storm comes in, it's still a low pressure. The storms, at least in this case here, are going to be forming a line, it seems, which this is the part where I would be nervous of tornadoes. You have the storm trying to turn this way, in this direction here. They're hitting the mountains, so some of that air is going to be pushed back by the mountains. That could create spin, which could possibly even form tornadoes. Air pockets of spin in these severe thunderstorms that could create tornadoes. Tornadoes is a definite risk when it comes to tropical cyclones of any type. And as it goes through, we still see throughout this whole time, at least a few pockets of areas are going to be impacted with very heavy rain. And I'm not sure what the geography of most of Madagascar is to be able to say this is mountain or this is not or whatever. I know that there are a lot of mountainous areas in Madagascar, if I'm not mistaken. If I am, please let me know. But I know that there definitely are quite a few mountains in Madagascar, so the areas that have mountains, regions, hills, stuff like that, really need to watch for those mudslides. For areas that are open areas, low-lying areas, they need to watch out for flooding from the rain. And areas along the coast need to watch out for storm surge. And the whole region needs to watch out for tropical storm, at least tropical storm force winds, possibly hurricane force winds in some areas, and even for a few other areas, major hurricane force winds, possibly up to Category 5. The Category 5 force winds have probably already passed. Right now, the biggest threat would be Category 3 force winds. So the storm is weakening. That's good. That's what we want. We don't want the storm to get any stronger. Let's take a look at some other systems. So that's the forecast for Inawo. Let's look at Invest 90W. Let me change this to the wind. Okay, so here we are. Let's go to this one here. I think this is 90W that it's referring to. Okay, so it's having a hard time following it. This might be it over here. I'm not sure. But we're not really seeing anything, tropical storm force, so I'm not going to really spend any time on that until the model focuses in on where it actually believes it's going to be. I think the model's confused right now. Okay, so let's take a look at this system. What is this forecasting? A tropical storm, maybe? Looks like tropical storm, maybe a Category 1 hurricane on the lower part of it. Is this Reunion? Are these the islands? I think I know where this one is. Let me see. If I'm not mistaken, let me see. Is that also near Madagascar? Yes, it's off the coast of Madagascar by these two islands. You may see me mention them a lot when I'm talking about tropical cyclones in this region on the Facebook page. But yeah, they might be getting a tropical storm or a Category 1 hurricane. It does show the wind staying off course, but again, that's a number of days out. So we'll have to wait and see until that's a official system to see how the model changes and if these areas need to be on watch. I would say to watch out to see what happens with this storm. It's still a little bit early to tell with any certainty as far as what may happen with this tropical cyclone, but I guess we'll find out in a few days for sure. Within about 2 days, we should have a better understanding of what the storm is going to do. It should develop. If it does develop, that'll be in 72 hours, so in 3 days. When this thing is supposed to develop, we'll have a better idea of the track. Until then, the forecast is probably going to keep changing. I might do a forecast on this one. I don't know. I might wait the 3 days. If you saw in my most recent post, I recently got a new job, so I don't have as much time for forecasting because I've recently become very busy with different things. I'm still going to do forecasts and things like this whenever I do find the time. Although on my forecast on the Facebook page, I used to list individual neighborhoods and cities that need to watch. To save time for myself now, I'm going to only list the countries. So in this case, if I was forecasting right now, which I am, but if I was doing a Facebook forecast, instead of saying the areas around here, I would just say Madagascar. If you live in this area, or if you are familiar with this area, of interest in this area, or going to a certain area, you probably know, the basic geography of, if I were to point here, you'd probably be able to mention some city that's there, or some town that's there. If you live there, you obviously know what's there. So, yeah, I'm not going to be mentioning individual cities anymore, except for in the United States, that I will list individual states that will be impacted, only because that's where I live and I know the geography. While I don't need to look it up, I could just mention by looking at it. So with these countries that I don't know the geography, I have to do a lot of research on what the areas are. But yeah, I just don't have the time anymore for that. But I will still do the forecast, so you could still watch these forecasts and still look at my forecast on the Facebook page. But yeah, so anyways, let's continue on. GFS 97S, I believe you looked. Yeah, that's what this one is over here. That's 97S. Yeah, that's 97S. Okay. Blanche is pretty much, or Blanche, I don't know how to pronounce. Someone tell me how to pronounce. Is that Blanche or Blanche? Or am I ruining it both ways? I don't know. Whatever the case is, that storm is pretty much done. There was a lot of heavy rain and some heavy wind in some areas, but for the most part, from the news articles I saw, there wasn't really a whole lot of damage from this storm, but there is still a lot of rain that came off of this storm, and behind the storm as well, there was some inflow of rain that came as a result of the moisture that it left behind. So This storm wasn't too bad. Again, I think it was a tropical storm at landfall, maybe a Category 1 hurricane, low-end Category 1. So that would be minor to moderate damage, possibly more on the end of minor damage, which is in line with what the forecasts are. Now, I gave my forecast on the storm, which is over here currently. This is the other one, 97, was it? 97S? Yeah. So this is 97S over here. We'll have to see what happens with that and how it, interacts with these islands and maybe even Madagascar if the model changes drastically enough. But right now, Madagascar getting hit with very strong winds. Let's zoom in. So over here looks like the strongest winds right now. Oh wait, missed it. Miles per hour, 60 miles per hour. So this would be a strong tropical storm. That's what it is saying that it is now, as it's been going over land. Which is, yeah. Let's go over here, and now to the point where it is. Oh wait. Over here, on the low end. Wait, that's the high end. On the low end, it is calling it a tropical storm, and on the high end, it's still calling it a Category 1 or 2 hurricane. So, what's actually happening now? It is a high-end tropical storm, close to a low-end Category 1 hurricane. The winds are being slowed down by the landmass. Now, if we look at the, let's see. Let's look at temperature. You can see it was over really warm water. Over land, it is a bit cooler, so that's also weakening the storm. What about dry air? Does this show? Can I get that? Yes. So we still do see a lot of moist air around this system that's still feeding this system. The air is a little bit drier inland, so that's also helping to weaken the system. As you see, the strong winds are moving over the dry air and it's being sucked into the eye. So some of that dry air is getting into the eye of the storm. That's definitely helping in weakening the storm. So let's hope that that continues with the storm. If anyone is from this area who is going through this natural disaster, if you're seeing this post or this video afterwards, I don't know if you would have internet at this time that you'd be watching now. If you are, you could comment down below. If you see this video later, please go ahead and tell us any experience with this storm, how bad the damage was for you, and areas near you, what areas were most damaged, what the wind speeds were reported as in your area. Anything like that would be really interesting to see. But this storm was a major Category 5 hurricane as it was coming in the coast. Now that it's on land, it's starting to weaken as we forecast it would. As it goes through, it's going to continue to weaken. And eventually, as it comes through here, it's going to go down this way, no longer be a tropical cyclone, and sort of just move wherever it's going to move. By that time, it will no longer be a threat to Madagascar. But for now, that's the forecast that I've given. Now let's take a look at what the professional is giving. Because again, I'm not a professional. I can't issue warnings. I can't, with any certainty, that is. So let's look at the professionals. So this is a professional meteorologist website. And right now they're saying it's a Category 4 hurricane. Maximum winds of 145. That puts it at a moderate Category 4. So that's within our range of a, I believe it was Category 2 to Category 5 range, or Category 3 to Category 5 range, I don't remember, but it was within that range for a Category 4. It shows it's still out here. The storm has made landfalls over here. It's forecasting it to be a Category 2 at this point. 6 p.m. Tuesday. I believe that is my time, Eastern Standard Time. No, UTC. I don't know what time that is. Is that 6 a.m. Oh, 6 a.m. UCT is, I think, your time in Madagascar, if you're in Madagascar. But this times over here, I think, are my time in Eastern Standard Time. Yes, Eastern Standard Time. Okay, so 145 mile per hour winds. By within within 3 hours, it should be over here. Currently, it is over here, so within 3 more hours, it should be over here. It's forecasting a Category 2 hurricane. Within 24 hours from then, it'll be a tropical storm. Another 24 hours, tropical storm. Another 24 hours, tropical depression or post-tropical cyclone. Most likely a post-tropical cyclone at this point. It's forecasting it to die at this point, as we saw on the model. Even though it will no longer be a tropical cyclone, it will still have tropical storm force winds that will impact this area. So you can choose, I would say, even though it's forecasting a tropical depression, which they're probably correct because they're the professionals, but I would prepare as a precaution or keep an eye on the news to see if this forecast changes, because I think this was last updated at 1 a.m. So again, as I put with my forecast, the forecast may have changed drastically from when you're seeing it. This was, almost 12 hours ago or 9 hours ago when this was updated. So the forecast may very well change to show a tropical storm over here, but we'll have to wait and see what they say when they do their next update at 6 p.m. I think, Eastern Standard Time. So let's see what the storm history. It was a Category 5 for a period, I think. No? Maybe? I don't know. Well, it was at least a Category 4, which is still a very powerful storm. I don't want to be in any hurricane, period. This is the animation of the cloud cover. Wait. I want to stop it at a particular point. Well, if you could see right there when it showed it, you see a very well-defined eye, which signifies a very strong storm, which we already know is a Category 4 or 5 hurricane that we're dealing with. Very powerful winds, a lot of damage happening in these regions here. Minor damage happening on the outskirts of the storm, and as it moves through, damage will continue in different areas. Anywhere from minor to moderate, depending on the area and the region and what the geography is like and how it interacts. So with that, thank you for watching. Anyone that was here or anyone who will be viewing this later on after it's posted. And yeah, with that, I'll see you later.